I'm not sure. I think Gabby, no, Christy might have tried.
Yeah, there's nothing in the folder, so.
Okay, that's what
And upload yesterday.
No, I'll just ask for it. Can I assume that everybody has warmed up? Please take out your food webbing activity answers, numbers 5 through 11. Holroyd, were you absent yesterday?
Yes.
Patty Holroyd,
Yes.
were you absent yesterday? All right. Graham is here, right? This is very small. Does anybody else still have to make up the Unit 1 exam? Are there any questions about the Unit 2 plan or handouts, which came out yesterday?
Oh yeah, I couldn't find the words how that physical engineer species or cut it at that.
A lot of those I'll define in class.
Okay.
And so that particular clump sounds like it. Are you sure that wasn't supposed to be in the reading packet?
Could have been.
So you would know, though, they would be organized as a separate chunk.
Then no.
And does it say will be defined in class?
Nope.
I don't mind defining those when we get to the unit, so it's probably just my oversight. Anybody else? Other questions about the Unit 2 plan? Yes?
So is there a video tomorrow, Wednesday, or on Thursday?
I believe the video cannot be Thursday because of back to school night. So if I want to have a video, I have to do it on Wednesday. The problem with Wednesday is that my volunteer may not be available. So it's either Wednesday or nothing this week. And as you know, this all depends on parent volunteers, and we still haven't secured one for this week on either night. Kids, remember, by the way, if you like extra credit, which looking at the exam, a lot of you are going to need, you definitely got to get me some parents. With nobody volunteering their parent, no video series. Okay. Yeah.
When will we get our test back? Or did you already answer
I probably already answered that, but probably about 2 to 3 weeks. It's quite a bit of turnover. We grade this like the College Board, so your essays have to be compared word for word against the key on each one. Yes?
If you would any of the extra credit things that will be on the test, right?
If you want to do the math yourself, those points are essentially added into your exam category, so you count extra credit points as exam points. As far as how they show up in the grade book, they're usually a separate column that says Unit 1 extra credit, and the category is exam. Does that make sense to you? Anybody else? Alright, so I think a lot of you know that I'm a rock climber, and on most exam days, I will either be driving to the mountains or climbing in the mountains. I think you know that I spend my summers in Yosemite National Park, where I climb rocks. You may have noticed that I have photographs of my children climbing rocks on the walls. And you might know that Santa Barbara has an indoor rock climbing gym. Now, personally, in my opinion, climbing on plastic, I don't know. It's not nearly as good as climbing on rocks. And like any other gym, even if I like doing it, I also have a separate problem, which is I can't afford that stuff. But I know the guys who started the climbing gym, and I know their lead trainer, and I know some of their hotshot athletes. And we've been talking about it for a while, and here's the deal. The Santa Barbara Rock Gym is going to launch a high school team concept. Each local high school, including some of the private and smaller schools, are going to assemble a team. It's not a CIF sanctioned sport, so it's not a school team. And by the way, you still have to pay to be a member, so it's not available to all students. So we can't do this through the high school. It's not a high school function. It requires money. I'm just talking about my personal life here. That said, members of the high school team get a really cheap membership. I believe it's $50 instead of $120. Members of the high school get unlimited access. They also have a trainer on site. They get a free class to like introduce you to like the basics of rope climbing. And if you go during the Santa Barbara High School team training period, there's a trainer there that'll help you focus on your crimp strength, or your open hand strength, or your crack technique, or your physical opposition technique, or whatever. Because you have to pay, it's not a school thing, and this is not CIF, but for anybody who wants to get into climbing, keep your ears open. I think this is going to be like a pretty unique opportunity. And if anybody's already into climbing, I am looking for candidates to be the club president, the team president, team captain, I think they're calling it. What that means is that person goes for free, but has to go whenever there's a high school practice. So for that student, the attendance is kind of mandatory during that window. Then again, you have a trainer available and you're going for free, so it's a really good way to become a strong climber if you do have the availability to commit to that. If anybody wants to be the team captain or knows somebody who should be a team captain, send me a text message or email. And if anybody wants to join the team and get into the rock climbing thing with the free class and the trainer and all that stuff, then please keep your ears open. We're going to start making this available to students. By the way, I have to mention that rock climbing is kind of a unique opportunity for people with weird body shapes. Climbing is difficult for anybody if you have to carry a lot of weight, but by the way, weight itself is not really a problem. A lot of people who already are carrying around more weight might have stronger toes, and that's actually really helpful. One of the best climbers I know in Tuolumne has a belly like out to here and is like 60-some years old, and he crushes. Skinny people and little people often have like two secret weapons. They have less weight to move, or they can move in smaller spaces. So it's sort of a like equal opportunity sport. Nowadays, women and men climb at roughly the same level competitively. I've climbed with a 12-year-old. I've climbed with a 65-year-old. So anyway, it's kind of like an equal opportunity. Everybody can be humiliated by rock climbing. Okay. Anybody want to talk about that? All right. Who has the 3 unique posters? So the 3 unique ones, please bring them up first. Everybody else, line up over there with your poster. I'll take yours second. Open them when you bring them to me, please. Are you done with the uploading part? No internet connection? Okay. After you do whatever you're doing, use the food webbing post lab. And Sarah, the food webbing post lab should have 8 food webs on top, and then questions 5 through 11.
Okay.
And I'll give them a warning in a second, so you can so they'll know you're coming. Next. Next. Next.
We should have used the black pen. Yeah, because then it would more clear.
Next.
Or just use black to draw the names.
Somebody has the hiccups. How cute. Next.
You just get here. I know.
So far, right? Yeah. Oh, wow.
Sarah will stamp your food webbing questions while I'm doing other stuff. So, about your food webs. You may already know that this activity is useful for fourth graders. Is often used in life science at junior high school, and is sometimes used by biology teachers at the high school level. How many of you have seen some sort of a food web demo in your education at some point, elementary, middle, high? See? This doesn't surprise me. I expected no less. Next question. Sorry, not next question. Next thing. These can be used for some really basic fourth grade level stuff, some seventh grade stuff, some bio stuff, but then we have some AP environmental science stuff to do with them. Probably in the fourth grade, you use these to talk about different terms for things that eat different things. So you might have heard about herbivores, carnivores, omnivores. Do you guys remember all that terminology from elementary school? And does anybody need help with any of those, or is that basic enough? Basic. In middle school, they might have introduced a few other things. Like in middle school, they might have introduced producer and consumer. They might have talked about photosynthesis. Oh, they also did food web versus food chain. And so I want to get to that level and do a little bit of catch up before we do the high school level stuff. So here it comes. When I did a food chain yesterday, I think I did sardines, tuna, sharks. Does anybody know what was missing to make it a real food chain?
The ocean?
The producer. The producer. In that case, algae, which is presumably either a phytoplankton or an anchored algae. So please look up. This is now a more accurate and complete food chain because it includes the producer. And remind me, students, what do the arrows signify? Transfer of energy? Is eaten by. But that would just be the consumption web. In that food, we understand that something is being transferred, and that's what we call it. So here comes my question for you. Where is that energy? When the shark eats a tuna, where's the energy? Calorie is a measure of heat, which is one type of energy. So calories measure the amount of energy, but where is that? Fat cells muscles. Anybody else? Where's that energy? This is the middle school level, so I think you were supposed to know this. Why do plants do photosynthesis?
Produce oxygen.
No, it's not to produce oxygen. That's their waste product. You don't live to produce poop. You just produce poop because that's the waste product, yes?
It's self-sufficiency, so they can make their own food.
Well, yeah, but that's okay. Sugar, something about sugar. I don't know if you guys have ever seen like 3rd and 4th graders talk about sex, but it's really awesome because they get like all the parts right, but they don't really get like how it works. So they're like, I don't know, something about like you take your clothes off and there's like penis, you like pee in the belly button or something.
Wait, you don't do that?
What happens, right?
Yeah, you don't do that?
I mean, sorry, the kids don't understand. Yeah, okay. You guys sound like little kids talking about sex. And I'm sure that you know all the parts, and everybody has said like the cells and the sugars and the energy stuff. But I really want to get a more accurate description. Not of, but of the energy thing. Why do plants do photosynthesis?
Convert sunlight and water
Where's the energy?
and sun.
And then where's the energy? After photosynthesis? In the plant? Where in the plant? In the leaves and in the sugars and in the flowers and in the everything, but where? Something about the belly button? Where are the cells? Belly button? All I know is you take your belt off.
In the plant.
Now you gotta wrestle. Yeah?
We're talking about the individual layers, I believe.
I'm asking, I'm not talking. Where is the energy?
In its soul.
Yes, in the eternal soul, exactly. Where?
Everywhere, man.
No.
Not cool.
And inside the mitochondria and inside the nucleus, where do you actually put the energy? Where's the sunlight? What? Adenotriphosphate? That's where the energy is? Where?
In the atoms.
Adenotriphosphate is a way of moving energy around. Like belly button or something? You gotta wrestle. I know you gotta wrestle.
Are we being like stupid? Is it a really, really clear answer that we're just not getting?
You know, it's kind of like the kids talking about this. Like, yeah, you're right, 5-year-old. You do have to wrestle.
It's
Like,
pretty basic. I don't know, like the molecular levels.
my point is, so far, everybody has talked about this in these roundabout terms without actually just saying it like it is. What? No? And everybody knows this answer. When I say it, you're all going to go, I knew that, but you're not saying it.
The roots,
Plant. Wait, let's go backwards.
leaves,
Biota.
ovaries,
It's
Fruit.
in the sun. Oh, holy.
flowers.
Water.
Water.
Ribose
So I know you take out the bell, then you wrestle, and there's something about
ribonucleic acid.
The other day, give us a hint.
Yeah.
Hey, give us a hint.
Start with.
The energy doesn't dance.
What does it rhyme with?
Yeah. Like, okay, but where? Like, into what? You spread it out over the whole plant? Yeah, sure, you do. You're right. But where? Like,
Blood.
what do you do with it? Like,
It helps you grow.
so you're telling me that plants are just filled with energy everywhere, and it's either in their leaves, or in their flowers, or in their cells, or in their nucleus, or in their mitochondria, or in the chloroplast,
Their eyes.
and the stem, and the eyeballs. But that's all you can tell me.
The process.
What have we not said?
More like chlorophyll.
Process.
Stored in the earth,
That's it.
in the ground.
You see what I mean? Like, you see it, right? Like, you understand why I do this?
We don't have to read it.
Neither do I, bro. It's cool. We can all fake it.
I want to see third graders try to find this. They probably can.
Eventually, if nobody else, something to do with sugar, yeah. I'll give you a hint. She's closer when she says sugar.
C6H12O2.
Oh, I know what glucose is. You're equally as close, but where?
The C6 part.
Where in the C6 part?
The carbon.
What about it?
6 of them.
And Yahtzee!
What? What is it?
Bonds. Between the bonds.
Why do you say that? I feel like Diego knew that the whole time. I feel like Diego is just sitting in his chair like.
I know. These idiots, all of you idiots. Bravo.
Same thing we do every day.
Look, if I roll these around all day, they're not going to spontaneously stick together. It takes a little bit of energy to make them stick together. It takes a little bit more energy for them to stick together. I have to use a little bit of muscle. You know, it's not a lot of muscle, but I can make them stick together. So now is the part where everybody needs to wake up because this is noteworthy. What do plants breathe in?
Carbon dioxide.
They expire carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide goes in. With the carbon dioxide, the plants will build in photosynthesis which macromolecule? You've all been saying it.
Glucose.
Glucose. And glucose has how many carbon atoms?
6.
6. Now watch me. The plant goes, and in goes the CO2. That oxygen is just in the way. What do plants breathe out?
Oxygen.
The O2, right? So, CO2 goes in, and the plant uses energy to go click and create carbon bonds. Maybe. Now, does anybody realize why my glucose model is grossly inaccurate? That's right. And what shape does glucose have?
Double helix.
Hexagon, that's right. Glucose is not a line, glucose is a hexagon. But do you all realize the limitations of my modeling method? Okay. So if this were a hexagon, then it would be glucose. And remember, plants need carbon dioxide because they want the carbon. They want the carbon because sunlight can stick those carbons together. And then what's that for? Why do plants make sugar? Because we like candy?
So that's okay. Eat.
Why do plants make sugar?
You said it earlier, didn't you?
Right. This is storage for them. Do you guys realize that the sun goes down at night?
No?
It does. Yeah, somebody turns off the sun at night. And so, at night, the plant doesn't have a source of energy. So at night, the plant will release the energy by doing what? Breaking the bond. That's right. The bond is where the energy is. It took energy to make the bond, so you spent energy. Your sunlight is used up when you have sugar. Sunlight energy is gonzo. We now have a sugar thing. The reason we want a sugar thing is when there ain't no sun, we can split those carbon atoms away from each other and take out the energy. Sugar, like other macromolecules, serve as energy storage. Energy is stored in the bonds. ATP, who said ATP? Adenotriphosphate? That's another molecule which, check me out, when you add the other protein, it takes, the other phosphate? When you add, no. Phosphorus? Single phosphorus? Phosphate?
Yeah.
When you add the other phosphate, it goes, energy required, and they stop. Then later on, you go, whoop, phosphate group comes out, and that's your POW, the little star thing that you all drew 1,000 times in bio without realizing that that was the energy storage. Oh, those little stars? That's the energy released when you break a bond. Yeah. Yes? Okay. So, adeno diphosphate, check me out. Adeno diphosphate only has 2. The energy threshold is within our metabolic potential to stick on a third. So you use energy to stick on the other phosphate, triphosphate, ATP, and then when ATP splits off a phosphate, that releases the energy, leaving behind the uncharged molecule adeno diphosphate, AD. Did that answer your question? Were we just asking what was that? Did I butt into the wrong conversation?
No, you did it.
Okay, you're just non-responsive.
Oh.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Okay. So here comes the flip side of that question. What do plants breathe out? Where did that oxygen come from?
C6H12O2.
No, that's got the oxygen in it, bro.
But when they break it.
When they breathe in the CO2, the carbon, they release the O2.
Okay, now loudly to them.
They breathe in.
No. Loudly.
They breathe.
No. Loudly.
They breathe in the CO2, and then they keep the C.
What?
And then they release the O2.
Anybody have a voice around here?
You do.
Can you repeat what she said?
When the CO2 goes in, they keep the carbon and then release the O2.
That's right. Remember that plants don't make oxygen for you. Plants don't know that you exist because they got no brains.
Oh, so we just inhale plant poop?
We just inhaled plant poop. That's right. And does anybody know why on earth would we want to inhale the waste product of plant metabolism?
We had to inhale any waste product. I'd want it to be a plant.
Well, why is oxygen good for you?
Because it oxygenates our blood.
Why do you need the oxygen?
For our blood.
Help our cells run through a carry things. Between the bonds.
Because that's what Jesus said.
We're really running out of time. You guys are very cute, but you're also milking the comedy to hide your fact that you can't answer my simple question.
Don't we need oxygen to oxygenate our blood? So we say,
Bro, why do your cells need the oxygen out of your blood?
to get rid of the carbon.
To get rid of the carbon, that's right. Because watch this. If you take sugar and you break it apart without any oxygen around, what's going to happen? These 2 carbons are like, I'm lonely and I'm scared and there's wolves after me, so they'll go back together and you don't get any oxygen, you don't get any energy out of sugar unless you can say, give me the sugar, you break the carbon bond, so we take out the energy, and now you go make friends with those oxygens and leave. You see, there's this little part of all this basic chemistry that I feel never has been combined for you in a way that it's useful to this class. So I'm going to try it one time. Plants breathe in CO2. They use energy from the sun to break off the oxygens and stick together the carbons. The oxygens are irrelevant, so they breathe them out. That's poop. That's their waste. They want to keep all the carbons stuck together as sugar because that's energy storage, because sometimes the sun goes down. And plants still have stuff to do at night, you know. We cannot get energy from the sun. We are consumers, so we must consume macromolecules to get our energy. But in order to split the energy from between those carbons, we got to keep those carbons busy with something. So we breathe oxygen and breathe out CO2. And the only reason we do that is for the energy. Where was the energy again?
In the bond.
That's right. Everybody everybody's like, yeah, I know we need oxygen. And everybody thinks that you somehow just need oxygen because oxygen is somehow magic. Oxygen is just a way to distract the carbon so that you can get rid of it from your system. Because CO2 is a waste product for us of our energy supply. The energy comes out of those breaking carbon bonds. And the oxygen is just a way to keep the carbon busy so it'll leave. Yeah?
Then why, when we're sleeping, do we have to breathe? Because we're not more breathe normally.
You need energy for other stuff,
Right.
like running your brain, keeping your muscles from rotting,
So you breathe.
digesting your
less
food.
oxygen. You
But yeah.
Yeah.
You breathe more slowly than you do when you're jogging because you need extra energy. When you're doing a sprint, you're as much oxygen as you can suck in because you're trying to break up extra carbons to get the extra energy for all those other muscles that at night you're not using. You know, why do you sweat when you're doing exercise? Because all those breaking bonds release a lot of heat and you got to get rid of that energy or you're going to cook.
Isn't sweating also a cooling mechanism?
I'll catch them up there. Okay. So the reason that you do the cooling is because of the energy level.
No. I meant, never. I was poorly worded.
Oh. So that took so long. But you see why I wanted to do that, right? Like, so far we've been in middle school. And I know you all learned all this, right? Like, did I say anything that you have never heard in your entire life? But the funny thing is we got to put all these things together now because we're looking at the big systems. So remember, the producers make energy storage molecules. We have to consume those to get the energy out. When something consumes us, there's only a little bit of energy left because we've already used most of it for running or kicking sisters or whatever we do with our energy. Targets. Okay. Those arrows show the flow of energy. Energy goes up from the producer, who put the energy into storage, to the primary consumer, what we call vegetarians, herbivores. They eat producers. Up the hill to the carnivores that eat other producers. Sorry, that eat other consumers, excuse me. So this consumer eats that consumer, making it a carnivore. Carnivore, carnivore. And sometimes there's nothing which can eat the adult. We call those apex predators, top consumers, peak consumers. There's like 1 trillion ways to say it, but it means the consumer that is highest up, meaning nothing will eat the adult. What were the apex predators here?
Mountain lion,
Mountain
black
lion,
bear, coyote.
black bear.
Bobcat.
I think that a mountain lion will eat a coyote and will eat a bobcat, so I'm going to skip those. But
Red-tailed
mountain lion,
hawk.
black bear, red-tailed hawk,
Great horned owl.
great horned owl. That's right. Those are. Well,
Could a bobcat eat a red tail?
Yeah, it's birds.
I doubt that a
How would a
bobcat
bobcat
can
get
eat an
to it?
adult red tail. An adult red tail's like this. So unless the bobcat found him pinned underneath bushes where he could hold him down and kill him, I doubt it. I also don't think that a bobcat would actually pursue the prey, like target a red-tailed hawk. And by definition, you can eat apex predators, but nothing targets an apex predator, like gives chase and captures and eats them. Anybody know some other top predators from around the world?
Great white shark.
Great white shark, hyena, lion. Most whales are filter feeders.
Orcas.
Do you have one in mind? Yeah, the killer whale's a predator. And does anybody know the largest predator that has ever lived in the history of life?
That is the most elementary school answer I've ever heard.
Step back a minute.
T-Rex.
Step back a minute. I'd like to tell you something. Dinosaurs are definitely larger than humans, but The largest predator that's ever lived is not a dinosaur. It's still alive on the earth today. There were much larger dinosaurs, but they don't count as predators because, like the blue whale, they did not target individual prey. They eat whatever little stuff falls into their mouth. The blue whale is the biggest thing, but it's not a predator. What's the biggest predator? And coincidentally, it is alive on Earth today.
Alligators.
Bigger than alligator. Bigger than crocodile.
Elephants.
Hippos are vegetarians. Hippos eat lettuce.
And your soul.
I'll give you a hint. Predators have teeth like this because they eat meat. Yeah.
Lions.
What? The Komodo dragon is pretty small. I can take one of them. I can still take one of them.
That is some.
Oh, giant squid is close.
Sperm whale.
Colossal squid is pretty close. But what? Somebody said
Sperm whale.
sperm whale. Sperm whale. Sperm whale. Sperm whale. Okay. You guys want to know how badass this planet is? Sperm whales are a mammal, like you and me. They breastfeed, they have fur, they have to hold their breath because they breathe air. So the sperm whale comes to the surface, goes, takes a big old breath, and then they hold it for up to 4 hours. They go something like 600 feet down, somebody could Google this number, which is way below the limit of light penetration. They go about 4 times the limit of light penetration. So they swim into pure dark, holding their breath, and then they keep going 3 times as deep as that. Where the pressure would crush you. You would look like a little hamburger patty. Unless you had like specific, highly engineered protection. The whale goes into bone-crushing pressures in the dark, total absolute darkness as a mammal, holding its breath, and hunts there. And the thing that it hunts can fight back and kill it.
Giant squid.
That's how badass this planet is. Oh my god, there are things like that.
They have them like a. Do we have it on film?
No, but we know that they fight squid because squid have hooks on the long tentacles that they use to bring the food into their mouth. And when a whale tries to eat the squid will fight back and just scratch
And
the whale.
Also,
And so when you find sperm whales, like the time I found one in the mouth of the Toll River with my daughter Ona,
Wow.
they're gouged along the sides with those scars from the giant squid fighting back.
also they'll if a squid gets to attack it, if you find like a dead whale, I don't know if it's sperm whale or blue whale, but giant squid will also like hook onto it with their beaks, and so they'll have this like round
Gouge.
part too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a 5-point gouge. Yeah, it's like a bird beak actually, parrot beak. Yeah.
How big are the whales?
Average sperm whale male adult is about 65 feet. I saw an immature one, so it was about 40 feet. Okay. I had to do that side trip, but we're out of time now. I feel like a jerk. Washed up on the beach at the mouth of the Toll River when I took my daughter on a road trip when she was 3 or 2.
And what do you find? You found a beach sperm whale?
It was a beach sperm whale, yeah. It was dead. It smelled kind of bad. It's been there
That's
for a
kind
few
of
days.
cool.
The leather, the skin, feels like a strange, high-tech, man-made material.
Whoa.
It feels exactly like the surface of a stealth bomber. It's like slightly nubby, and it has like a weird polish texture. Like you ever seen it's like, it's so hard to describe, man. I gotta find something which is like that, and then I'll show you. Like really
Like metal?
thick, brushed leather.
Oh wow.
So it's like kind of nubby, like you can push into it a little bit, but it's like a very, 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 very fine grain. It's not glassy.
Whoa.
It's like probably like the inside of what this leather would feel like. All right. I believe it's 600 feet, but you could smartphone it instead of. I'm just making it up. I'm just guessing. Yeah.
How big does giant squid?
Okay, maybe more. What?
Kind of random, but how big does giant squid get?
We don't know.
You don't know.
All right. No, I mean,
Very
we
cool.
as in
Yeah.
the scientific community doesn't know.
We don't.
The largest one found is really big, but they're squishy and soft. So the whale is much smaller, but it has rigid structures. And the whale has a secret: it can float on purpose. So when the whale wants to, it can shrink its swim bladder and drag the squid up to the top. All right, back to me.
What's this 10,000 feet?
Or 600, something like that. Okay.
I watched a documentary on albino sperm whale like last weekend. So,
Oh, the Moby Dick whale. Okay.
So what's that look
so you're welcome.
Now, does the energy stop when you reach the apex predator? Please wrap up the other conversations. You can talk to Will about sperm whales later. Apparently, he watched a very interesting documentary. But now back to me. Does the energy stop here? Where does it go now?
Heaven.
And then where does it go from the decomposers? Haha, trick question. No, it doesn't.
To the producers.
Your other conversations may be distracting you from my trick question, so be quiet and watch this. The energy stops at the decomposers. Sometimes one decomposer can eat another, but it's not like that energy ever goes someplace else. They burn it out, so to speak. What they do leave behind is the micronutrients, the building blocks, that will be recycled back into energy storage, macromolecules, when you add sunlight as the energy source to your producers. You see, a lot of times we say that decomposers are recycling, and in a sense they are. They're recycling the material, the parts. But they're not recycling the energy. The energy stops with them. In a real sense, the decomposers are the actual end of the food chain. Because what they leave in the ground is valuable. It's what the plants need to grow, but it's no longer energy, it's just the micronutrients now. So, for those of you that can't see it, all these arrows have an E on them, but the decomposers have turned to red because they make, this says, building blocks or micronutrients, the little pieces which are useful for the producer as long as they have sun as the source of energy. Yes?
What's an example of a micronutrient?
Carbon. But technically that's a macronutrient. I used the wrong terminology. Micromolecules is what they make. Sorry, that should say micromolecules, not micronutrients. Micronutrients are the more rare nutrients, like boron. All right, yeah.
So, like, you know there's biological magnification for all those species right there. Does that apply to decomposers? Like, do they get even more than apex predator?
No, because there's a biomass trick. There's a concentration question. Each, I believe, each single cellular decomposer doesn't have a lot of volume to accumulate in.
Okay.
But this is a really interesting question, and by the way, people have done some really neat research that was just published like a month ago about biomagnification in the oceans. Apparently the mercury piles up more in the deep sea fish than the surface fish because the right chemistry happens in the dark or something. So I don't know, there may be some cool follow-up to your question that I can't answer right now. Yeah?
Do you think if there was some sort of, like the sun went out or like some sort of ice age type thing, the fish that exist at like there's no light hitting them, like anglerfish and even deeper than that, do you think they would like evolve to like, I don't know, repopulate the earth in like
Almost, there's no question that the chemoautotrophic food web would survive the loss of the sun. And if the planet were still mechanically functional, if we still had the other inputs of energy to make water evaporate and so on, then it's a very safe assumption that any survivor with open niches left behind by a mass extinction will diversify to fill those niches. It's called macroevolution. And by the way, that was like my specialty in college. So we can talk a lot about that, and yes. The short answer is most likely yes. All right. I'm running out of time, and all these interesting conversations have pulled